Okay, we're live, but like to no one. So yay. Okay. All right. So we're unpacking Charleston. So I had actually been to Charleston before.
Where is Charleston?
It's in South Carolina. It's on the ocean. It's on the coast.
Is it near Savannah?
It's not far from Savannah.
Is it the same state?
No. Savannah they're both south of me. I'm in North Carolina. Charleston is in South Carolina.
Okay.
And then Georgia.
Oh, Savannah's in Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Savannah is pretty north and is also actually Savannah's on a river, right? Is Savannah on the ocean or the river?
I think it's on like the, and this is.
I feel so dumb right now. Like, where's Savannah?
There's an inlet. I think, but it's on the ocean too. Like
I was gonna say,
it was a major port.
Okay, yes.
It was a major port for ships and things to come through.
I was gonna say because it's right next to Hilton Head, which I actually didn't even realize because I've been to Hilton Head before. I didn't realize that they're literally right next to each other. In Tybee Island. Okay, yes. So it's right on the coast. And Charleston is, if you literally, now the coastline is crazy, right? But like as the crow flies, you can go right from Savannah, follow the coastline, and you'll hit Charleston, in like an hour. If there was a road that you could take from a straight line. I don't know, what is that, like an hour? Probably, because it's about like 4 hours.
I've just Google mapped it. Yeah. It's not that far away.
No, it's not that far. So there's
lots of funny sounding places in between.
Ooh.
Like you can go to Hardyville, or there's a place called OKT, and there's a place called Dowfuski Island. Dowfuski, and then there's a place called Kuzawachi.
Yeah, because those are all like Native American words.
They're amazing names.
They are. Yes, this land was not ours for thousands of years before the white man took over.
Is Hardyville a Native American name?
I have no idea. It doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't sound like it. And
Kuzawachi, probably named after somebody.
I'm sure it is.
I can hear that Kuzawachi's Native American, but also it sounds like it could kind of be Scottish as well.
Yeah. Well, there's a Scotland County in North Carolina. Did you know that?
Yeah. And there's a town called Highland. Oh, there's Highlands, North Carolina.
Yeah.
There's a Switzerland, South Carolina. You can go through Switzerland on your way to Kuzawachi.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Yeah. Well, we have Little Switzerland.
Do we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a little.
You can also go through Egypt.
Oh,
on the other side, so you can go through Switzerland, or you can go through Egypt.
Oh my gosh, that's really funny. I didn't realize it was in Egypt. Is that in South Carolina?
It's west.
Oh, you can go to Florence as well.
Savannah.
They're so original, all the names.
I know.
That's super funny.
I actually love looking at maps and names. Like I could look at them for hours.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah. I'm a big map geek. Like I love looking and studying maps and seeing the different names and stuff. Like my husband grew up in a place that was between Big Lick and Frog Pond.
Big Lick.
No way. I love that.
They're on the way when you go south. Actually, when you drive in this direction, going down south on, I don't even know what highway that is. There's two towns and they show up on the same billboard. It's Climax and Julian. I'm sure you've seen that 100 times. And every time I hit it when I go to Asheville. So every time I buy it, I want to scream like Climax, Julian. Like it's like I'm like 12 years old every single time.
Karen, me and you are soul sisters because just before you said that, what I was gonna say to you was my favorite thing about looking at maps and names is finding the rude ones.
Like the sexual names.
Well, when we lived in North Dakota, I think it was in Minnesota that have these, but you have to go through. There's a Climax there, but there's also Intercourse.
Oh, there's Intercourse, Pennsylvania, and it's like in like Amish country, which I'm like, that's ironic.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
No, it's like settled by the Pennsylvania Dutch. Intercourse, Pennsylvania. Yes.
Did they know they were doing that?
I like how you whisper it. Do they know? Do they know what that means?
Did they know that that's what that word?
I Just how do you say that with a straight face? Like ever? Like when does that ever is not funny?
Yeah.
I
I
don't
turned
think I
totally
could.
like a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah,
Like,
completely every time. Intercourse. Such dorks.
Like Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so Charleston, I've been to, and I know that people have said it's like super magical, but to me, Savannah, it always takes like first place because of like all the history and all the ghost lore that's there. And but now looking how close Charleston is, I'm like, oh, now I see why everyone says they're really similar. I do think Savannah is just is just a few notches more magical. I really do. I think just because of it's set up like Paris, and so there's just Charleston has trees, but just the landscaping and so much green space, so much more so than in Charleston. And for me, that just gets me every time. So, anyways, so every year we go on this girls' trip, and one friend books the house, and I book the experiences. So I booked, of course, like the haunted pub crawl tour, of course. So we did that in Savannah, and it was super fun. We had all these hijinks ensued. So we started at a bar, and we had already been drinking because I don't think this started until like 8. And we sat down, and it was like 2 other couples, married couples, and then our group of 6 women and the tour guide. And the tour guide I'm not going to say who I booked it through. I'm not going to say anything. I didn't even leave a review. Okay. So let's just say we didn't love him so much. He loved himself so much.
Really?
And he took 10 minutes. Like he was like reading from a script the whole time. And he just was like so lost in what he was saying. And it was kind of like we weren't even there. It was like super weird. And he went on for like 10 minutes of like why he like gets to do what he gets to do and like his accolades and education. And we're kind of like, okay, but nobody asked you. And also, can we like get on with the fun? Like, what are you even talking about right now? And like, not to be mean, but like, let's go. So we were not having the super funnest time and he was also very controlling. He was like, no, we're in this bar. You need to stand over here. Like, this is your table.
I wonder how long he'd been in the job, because that to me sounds like someone who's not feeling very confident in what they do, because it's only through experience and confidence and having done something for a long time that you feel the confidence to like step outside the script, so to speak.
I think it was the exact opposite of that, where he thought he was the Mac Daddy bomb of all tour guides, and he like couldn't hear himself talk enough. So he was like a 60-year-old like man stuck in like a 20-year-old body. It was super weird, super interesting. So first it was like interesting. And then it crossed a line when he shushed me after I told him that like I was all in on ghosts. And he was like, shush. He literally was like, shush, shush, shush. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I am your new best friend. I am so into all this stuff. And I was like expressing my like enthusiasm for the stories that he was about to tell. And he fucking shushed me. And I was like, oh. And then he told a Karen joke like 20 minutes later. And my friends were so mad. I was so checked out at that point, and they were so pissed at my behalf, which is funny because I actually just let that stuff roll because I'm like, that's just so dumb. And that was interesting.
And I'm guessing he didn't know your name was Karen.
No, he totally did, because I'm the one who booked it. No, he did it like on purpose. Like he was a dick.
Oh my God.
I know. And he did it because he thought it was funny, and like blah, blah, blah. And my friends were like, oh no. Like, anyways, so I was done. So, and also it was frustrating because he went to like cool places, but we weren't allowed, because he was really controlling, he wouldn't let us like explore or go anywhere. So we were like outside of a graveyard, and there were all these other tour groups in the graveyard, and he wouldn't let us go in the graveyard. And I'm like, are you my dad? Like, you are killing me. So I'm like checked out and like totally like have my camera roll going, as I love to do, all around the gravestones and like trying to get into it. And trying to like ignore his pompous ass while we like just tried to like get on with the cool part kind of on our own. So finally we're an hour in, and we're like, this is murder, like no pun intended, but like we like this. He was just so controlling. Like we weren't allowed to talk. We weren't allowed to go anywhere. So we went to the second bar finally after like wending our way. We had an hour and a half left. Like, this goes till 10:30. It was 2.5 hours. And I was like, it was 9 o'clock. And I'm like, oh my God. It's like, turned to my friend Chris, and I was like, can we like leave? Like, can we? And I was like, if this was Sean would be like, I am out. And he wouldn't feel bad. He wouldn't be rude. He would just be like, we're done, and like leave. And she was like, no, we can't. Like, I don't think we can do that. And I was like, I don't think we can either. So that was like,
Karen, that's where women are conditioned to not, like not
step outside, not insult anyone, not hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
Totally. So I was like, oh, crap, fine. So then he was like, okay, I'm going to go secure our table. And of course, we have to like sit down together. We can't just like go up to the bar and order for ourselves like we're in kindergarten. So as soon as he turns his back.
You had to sit in a bar
That's
with him?
what he was doing. He had like a reserved table. I'm like, this is so annoying. So no, he turns his back for 1 second. And my other friend whips her face around and she goes, you guys, we can leave, but we need to do it right now. And like we all just looked at each other and we literally ran out of the bar. We ran. Like,
were there other people in the group other than your group?
And they were super weird too, because I said there was 2 married couples and the guys kept talking to us, like the men. So we would like hang back. We'd be like, okay, the tour guide, super annoying. Just go ahead. Fine. Then like, we'll let the 2 other couples go. Fine. And like, we'll bring up a rear because we're a big group of 6. Right.
Yeah.
And the guys would wait for us, like the guys. And we're like, why are you not with your wives? Like, that's super weird and inappropriate. Yeah. Like, go with your wives. And we couldn't get rid of the guys. It was so fucking weird. So anyways, we are running down the streets of Charleston. Like,
did he notice?
No, I was laughing so hard. My friend Amisha and I were like grasping each other. I'm laughing so hard. She's like, I'm going to pee my pants. I literally peed my pants because I was laughing so hard. And we had drank so much. I peed my pants in Charleston. Like for the whole rest of the night, it was not good. But then we had an amazing time. Like we like broke off and like went bar hopping and blah, blah. It was the best thing we ever did was to leave that tour. And people are like, did you leave a route? I'm like, no, I don't want to break I don't want to mess with his career. I'm not trying to make anyone's bad day. Like I would never do that because I just being an online person, that could really crush him. And I have no intentions of doing that ever. It's fine. I'm sure other people would love him. I'm just really picky and I'm super into this stuff. So like I want a full experience.
I guess to some extent, different personalities. Like some people would love a really structured, controlled tour. Some people like it less so. But also, if he's like that and he sucks with every group he's got, it's gonna eventually bite him in the ass because they're gonna have people leaving.
Yes.
And then that's going to speak. And surely you would notice that. Would you not? Would you not notice if you were forcing people to leave halfway through your tour?
We literally ran. We ran.
And have like a little bit of self-reflection and be like, what did I do wrong that I could do better?
I know. And then my phone started blowing up and he was like, oh, what's happened? What's happening? Like, what's going on? And I'm also like, we're like 6 grown ass adults. Like, I'm like, we're having the best time. And I like left it at that. Cause I'm like, you don't even need to know. Like, I don't want to be negative in any way, shape or form to him. Like he is he's living his best life. I just personally think he sucks. So, but that he never needs to know that. Right. But yeah, we totally left and I peed my pants running away from our tour in Charleston. Cause it was the best thing we did. We had the best time of our lives after that. So that was the pee story that I promised. Okay. So this is the crazy, weird story that I need help unpacking.
And we're here with Ginger, by the way, because we didn't actually do a proper introduction. We just got in on the story because before we started recording, we've already been speaking for 2 hours. So we just presumed that you would all realize that Ginger was here, but our resident expert, ghost expert.
Yes.
No, she's not a resident ghost. She's a resident ghost expert.
Not yet.
Ginger.
Not yet.
She
is here with us.
Yes. And I'm so
my daughter
that's
and
why
I
we thought we
decided...
would talk about Karen's ghosty Charleston.
I really need help unpacking this. Yeah. And I'm I'm a little embarrassed that I said anything to my friends the next day. I kind of wish that I hadn't, but I had no choice. So and I've only told them and I told Sean. I haven't told anyone else. So because even when I hear myself talking about it, I'm like, this sounds crazy, but this is legit what happened. So that was our first night, the pee in your pants night. Then the second night we went out again.
Did you have clean pants?
I had clean pants. It was amazing. Okay. Yeah, I showered. It was all good. I literally showered before I went to bed though, because that's how gross I am. And so next day, fresh slate, went bar hopping. Day two. So we like found this awesome rooftop bar, and we were up. Whatever, had the time of our lives. We probably got home at like midnight. My friend, one of my friends, her stomach was off. So my friend Chris had some Tums. So she had Tums out on this coffee table downstairs. Now the place that we were staying, that comes in, that's not random. That will come in later. You're like, why is she talking about Tums? So the house that we were staying at, so Charleston is a lot like Savannah, and that like all the architecture is very old, right? A lot of those buildings date back to like the 17 and 1800s, which I know is like new in the UK, but it's old for us Americans. Yeah. So the place that we were staying at was the guest house on a property. There was a main large house, which is like colonial. The woman who owned it was a doll. She's like 970 years old. She personally welcomed us onto her property. I'm sure that property's probably been in their family for a few generations. And the guest house and the main house come together in like a perpendicular shape. So there's a large garden. It was almost like the Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, like that Savannah based, like so the Charleston is a lot denser than Savannah. So the houses are all a lot closer together, and practically no one has yards or property, like nobody, like the houses are right next to each other. But they must be loaded because they not only have this huge colonial house and this huge guest house, and the guest house is 3 bedrooms, full living room, kitchen, downstairs, like full house in and of itself. I only would know it was a guest house because they called it that. Otherwise, I would just think it was a regular house. And the gardens were registered in the Smithsonian Institution. It's like the top 50 of American residential gardens. Like it was absolutely stunning. Just absolutely stunning, with sculptures and like all these little nooks and crannies that you could go and sit and have your morning coffee and blah, blah, blah. So it was very old, very beautiful. And I was staying in one room with my roommate, Margot, who you know Margot from Awesome Art School. So we each had a twin bed in our little one end of the house.
Because she didn't make you stay in your own room like I did.
No, she's nice to me when I go to ghosty places. Thank you. We slept together in a bed last year when we went on this trip, and we were happy because that was super ghosty, freaky house too that we stayed in. So this one it didn't have like ghosty vibes, but it definitely had like a atmosphere to it, like a tangible, like you're like, okay, I'm sensing for sure history. I think the freakiest part was looking out. They had these great big windows. Oh, I should bring up a chit. I mean, just stunning. This property was stunning.
How old was it?
I don't know. I should have read more, but I was too busy having fun while I was there. But it had these giant square windows that were installed on the 45-degree angle. So they were all more like diamonds.
Oh, wow.
And because of that, there was no window treatments on them, because who dresses a diamond window? I mean, I'm talking giant, like 8 foot by 8 foot.
Oh my goodness.
Like, in the bedrooms. I'll show you a picture of the house on the outside so it makes more sense. And so these giant windows, it's so stunning. Check this out. This is just the nighttime view. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Oh, wow. That looks beautiful.
Like literally
doing windows like that.
Like the most beautiful home you've ever seen. And the gardens with the statues. And at night, it's like freaky because it's all these ornate gardens. It's like out of a movie set. You're like, oh, like who lives like this? This isn't like real. Like gardens don't exist like this anywhere I've ever been. It's so manicured and sculptured and like old. It was just created this whole like ambiance. So, actually, that's weird. Our bedroom light was on when I took that and we were not in there. Creepy. Okay, that's weird. So,
you took that photo?
I did. That's my photo. Yeah.
That's
so that
not
was
from like the website or something.
I know it looks like it's from a magazine. So that's the window with the light on was our window, and the other bedroom was way over here. So we were snuck away on this side, and then the other two bedrooms were.
Hang on a minute. Was that the photo of the 3-bedroom cottage?
This was the guest house. Yeah, this is where that's what I'm saying. It's like the only
reason. So there was an even bigger house?
Yes. Yes.
Karen just pulled up a photo of what looked like a mansion.
I know.
She did.
I know. It was unreal.
I thought that was the main house.
I mean, I live in a 3-bedroomed house, and my house isn't like that.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, look, and I took a picture of the view out the window. So that's the view. What I looked out the window. Isn't that crazy?
So beautiful.
It's incredible.
It's like Versailles or something. It's like this perfectly manicured garden with lots of just little hedges and like shapes cut out. It's so cool.
Isn't that like from a storybook? So
I'm just explaining because
for sure
when we do the podcast, people can't see.
No, I'm glad. I totally get it. And I think that is right. So so at night, and like this is the lane looking down as you're like going up to the house.
Was this in the center of Charleston?
Yeah, it's like in the historic center. It was absolutely gorgeous. So I just wanted to set the like vibe of the place. Like, right. It's like beautiful. It's old. And because those windows, that was our bedroom. When you're up in the middle of the night, you can, and everything's all lit up kind of in little spots in the garden. So anyways, I got really sick, basically. Long story short, I got really sick. We came home at 12. We were like laughing hysterically. And then it got kind of like spooky. We are all get a little spookied out like at nighttime because just we're in a weird house and it was old. And Margot and I are like shoved off into one corner. And so right before we went to bed, it was like 1 a.m. in the morning. I said, oh, you know what I did? I was like, what happened to make her laugh and scream? I belched. Okay. And she like jumped 9 feet in the air, and we both like looked at each other and started laughing because she was already like on edge, and we didn't really even realize like that we were getting to that like spooky part, So we went to bed after having like an 8-year-old laugh attack because I burped really loudly unexpectedly, and then we like laughed, fell to sleep. So I slept for 1 hour, and at 2 a.m. I woke up with like the worst stomach cramps of my whole life. Like I was dying in agony, and I thought I was going to throw up, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Like I don't think it was because I drank too much, because I was fine. Like I read for an hour before I like fell asleep, and like not an hour, but like I was sober enough to be reading a book and like calming down and like have conversations, blah blah blah, and my stomach was fine. So I was up, my stomach I was in agony from like 2 to like 6 in the morning. And because I was like up and down and up and down and up and down, and I was tiptoeing, freaking around this house because I didn't want to wake anybody up. I didn't want to disturb anybody, right? Like I was just like, nope, I'm just suffering in silence. So I like sneaked downstairs, and it was super freaky. So I didn't want to turn on any lights. But I had to use the bathroom like 50 million times because I kept thought I was going to throw up.
And you didn't have a bathroom in your
we did, but I didn't want to disturb Margot because it was like in our room. And so I didn't want to like keep jumping up and down, which is how I started. So to be quiet, I kept that. We had right outside our bedroom, there was a staircase, and it went down the stairs to that living room area. And then the bathroom.
If it was me and it was like 3 in the morning and I needed the bathroom, I would not be leaving my room to do it in a spooky house in Charleston.
But I was gonna I thought I was gonna throw up, and I did not want to hear anyone listening to like the hacking, like it's so embarrassing. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
But I was super freaked out because there's no window treatments in that bedroom over that huge window. So I would get up and I'm staring, and I would just go and glare out the window, like, where are the ghosts? Like, I know I'm going to see something. And then I would like tiptoe down the stairs, go into the bathroom. Now the fan in the downstairs bathroom was super loud, like crazy loud. So it was almost like I almost didn't even want to turn the light on because it was like, and I was like, oh my God, even that. So around like hour, like maybe 4 or 5, I started hearing noises inside of the noises of the fan. Like the fan I could hear like a sub noise in the fan that I hadn't heard earlier. And I'm like, what's that like other noise that I can hear coming out of there? And it was like startling enough where I'd be like, oh, look how red I am. Cause I'm like reliving. It was so crazy.
Mhm.
So, so the hours go on. So it's like 2:00 and then it's 3:00 and it's 4:00 and it's 5:00 and I'm exhausted. Like I have slept for 1 hour. My stomach has been killing me and I'm exhausted. And it was 6:00. It was probably my like 30-second trip to that fucking
Oh
bathroom.
God.
And I was downstairs and I was admittedly like at my wit's end. Like I was like, the exhaustion was like no joke. And so I'm trembling because I've been up and down all night long. And the fan had been so loud. And I turned the fan off. I went to shut the door and I heard, Karen, like this inhale of somebody saying my name, like Karen. And it was like instantly I jumped like 60 feet in the air.
Oh
like
my
it was
God,
so
Karen,
it was
that's
like
so spooky.
it was like halfway through the name I had already reacted. You know, like that knee jerk where you're like, I wasn't like, oh wait, what was that? It was like, and it was so familiar because it was like me that I like turned and I jumped. I thought maybe like Margot was saying it down the stair, and I knew exactly where it had come from because I flipped around to her and see like where it came from because I was like, you know, it was like zeroed out. It was nothing. It was like when someone says your name, like it's your name, right?
Mhm.
And I
Did
jumped
it
like
happen just as you were turning off the fan, or did it
I
happen
like
after?
I turned the fan off, and I heard. It was like someone inhaling and saying like Karen as like an inhale rather than like an exhale. Look, I'm like B-red talking about it. I literally was like
That's so spooky.
shaking, and it was just such a knee jerk like thing. But then I'm like, but granted, I was like delusional. Like at that point, I give full like I completely acknowledge how out of my mind I was by that time, but it was so like someone said my name and there was no one there. And look how red I am. I'm like, can't I? It was so creepy.
The only thing I can think of is a similar story that I've got, similar but different, was when I went to my Oberlin College reunion, my 10-year reunion. We were staying in this off-campus house that we'd rented. Like me and about 10 of my friends like rented this house rather than staying in the dorms. And there was like, 3 people sleeping in one room kind of thing. It was a bit like being a student again, and very little sleep for the whole weekend that we were there. And I'd flown from Scotland, so I was like, I'd literally flown from Scotland to spend like 3 nights in Oberlin and then fly back home to Scotland again. So it was like very kind of whirlwind, jet laggy kind of trip. And on the last night, everyone else had left, and me and my friend Genevieve were the only people left in the house. Everybody else had gone home. She stayed with me because my flight was like the next morning or whatever. And I had to get my flight the next morning quite early. And the whole night I didn't sleep because I think I was stressing about sleeping in for my flight. And also we'd been partying hard for like 3 or 4 nights. So 3 or 4 nights of not very much sleep. And there were birds outside the window of the house that were making a noise that, as my sleep deprived adult brain went on and on and on, it started sounding like people talking. But it sounded like it was almost like I was hallucinating. And it sounded like there was like I imagined there was like creatures outside or something with like a megaphone and they were saying something like, come out the house, we have you surrounded, or something weird like that. It was almost like the noise that the bird was making they were making the same noise over and over and over and over
Right. And then it
again.
like took on the shape of
And it
words almost.
took on the
Yeah.
shape of words.
Right.
And
get that.
because I was deprived of sleep,
Yeah.
it got more and more and more like words.
Right.
And then it was like almost like this mass weird hallucination of words.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't get to sleep because all I could hear was the sound of
Why
these
the fuck are the birds
words over
speaking
and over and over. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's all I can think of. Like, if you had, without wanting to instantly jump to ghosts calling your name, which could well be the case, if you'd had like 4 hours of no sleep and like up and down to the toilet, maybe there might have been like an electrical sound of when the fan went off that made that noise that in your sleep adult brain made it sound like it was your name being called. I'm just trying to make you feel better.
I know. Like, no, I appreciate it, and I like to analyze it a little bit because
that's the reason I asked when you heard it, like as it was turning off. Because sometimes, and especially since you've been listening to that loud roar for the 4 or 5 hours that you were down there, and you were focused already on the sounds within the sounds, that it very well, honestly, I'm sorry to say, it very well could have been your brain just
making words out of the bird sounds.
Yeah.
It just was.
But it could have been a ghost standing behind you going, Karen.
I just don't know why it sounded just like Karen. It didn't sound like any other word. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And the sounds in the sounds of
it was the tour guide coming back to
was like you know, they were continuous. It was like and I could hear I was like focused on like the undulating of the sounds and like listening. And this had I turned it off, and then I heard it. Like I heard it because I wasn't hearing the white noise of the fan. That's why it sounded so loud, because it was like quiet, and then it was like, I mean,
yeah, I can tell you. So ghost sounds we think of as being audible.
Oh,
hold on. That's how we hear. I just need
to stop you right now, and this is why Ginger is our ghost expert, because she legit knows shit. Okay, now I'm ready. I just have, in case people are listening to this for the first time, like you really know stuff. This is why I wanted to talk to you guys. And Lucy, I just have to say that your description of the bird sounds becoming words was very genius. I just thought that was very well told.
Yeah.
All right.
So we think of ghost sounds and the way they us hearing them and hearing them talking and hearing them things. It's not like it is in the movie. It's not an audible sound. They don't have a voice box. They don't have a mouth. They don't have a way to voice themselves unless it's coming through something, like if they're using any kind of electrical current kind of thing, which, you know, could be the fan. But what we perceive as ghost sounds and ghost speaking to us, it's not really an audible thing. It sounds audible to some of us because that's how we hear things, but it's actually usually it comes from like right behind you or right around.
Well, that's kind of what it felt like. That's why I like jumped behind to look up and behind me. Like that's how it felt. It felt like it was overhead. So our room was above us. So when I spun around, I mean, everything was up and behind me. And that's why I was like, whoosh, like I whipped. So maybe it was the fan, and maybe it was also a ghost using the fan.
Did you hear it?
Did ghosts sound like how you know how people just talk about some people don't do this at all, but a lot of people do kind of almost like talk to them, have a narrative to themselves in their head. So it's like not just a thought, but they hear in their head, they hear the sound of themselves talking. Is that what a ghost sound like?
Yes and no. So it sounds like, and this is why a lot of people, especially people who are new at recognizing when they're trying to communicate with you, it sometimes sounds like your voice, but sometimes it's not. It doesn't sound like your voice. Like when you talk to yourself in your head, sometimes even if it sounds like it could be like your voice telling you things, like how you talk to yourself,
Mhm.
but it's saying things that you normally wouldn't think or normally wouldn't
because it's
talk
not your
about
thoughts, because it's someone
because it's
else's
not your
thoughts.
thoughts. Right.
Now, what about the voice that you heard in the castle in Scotland when he said,
Hello,
"Hello,
ladies."
ladies"?
That was a very distinctive male voice. So when that happened, I was standing in the doorway, and Bryn and Debbie were in the room, and I was standing in the doorway. So outside the doorway, for those who haven't been, there is a staircase that goes down, like the spiral staircase that leads up to our door. I saw someone coming up the staircase, and I thought it was Robin, whose room was across the hall from us. So I physically saw out of my like peripheral vision someone coming up the staircase. I didn't look because I assumed that it was Robin. Because we were all, I think that was our last night there, and our last morning there. I can't remember now the time of day it was. It was one of our last days. But anyway, I physically saw someone, and they stopped right beside of me. And that's when I looked down and I saw the white stockings and the black shoes, and I heard immediately, "Hello, ladies." And it was a distinct male voice that came from me, from like, usually when I hear things and I've learned how to pay attention to where they're coming from, it usually comes from right behind my right ear. And it's very hard to describe. It's not an audible voice that you would normally like listen to. It's not like what I hear when you talk to me. It is kind of in my head, but not in my head at the same time. If that makes any sense. I know it's really hard to describe.
Hard to describe for sure. Well, this felt like it was coming from, it wasn't coming from, it felt like it was an external noise. So then it probably wasn't what you were
could have
describing.
very well been through the fan. Now, on the other hand, there are, I don't like to say ghosts, there are entities that will try to communicate through things. They use electrical currents. To communicate, whether it's flashing of lights or turning things on and off. There was a time that something in our family had happened. Someone was very ill, and we were called to travel. It was going to be a couple hours of travel, and we were told to leave immediately. Well, while we were getting ready to go, I was standing in the kitchen, and it was one of those things that you knew what was happening. You're anticipating something bad is about to happen to this person. And people were upset, but we were trying to hurry up to go. And I looked down, and this is at the time we had an iPod. And the iPod was laying on the counter because we were about to grab it to go, so we can listen to stuff in the car. And the iPod had lit up. And so I picked it up and I looked at it, and it was a song titled "Don't Cry." And I'm sitting there looking, going, okay.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And then it stayed on. And so I asked around the family. I was like, were you listening? What was the last song you were listening to? And it was not even that artist that we were listening to, but the iPod had lit up. So that was a communication that was through an electrical device.
Yeah.
Because at the time I wasn't able to hear things, and I still struggle with hearing things. It's pretty spontaneous for me.
I was going to say, but like that time that you heard that, you weren't trying to, right? It just happened.
No,
it just happens. To you.
It's very spontaneous. Right. Yeah, it's very spontaneous. When I want to hear things, nothing ever happens.
Right. Well, that's like, it reminds me of all the EVP like podcasts when they're, when they just hit record, whatever, 10 minutes, and then they listen to it back later, that nothing ever happens while they're listening.
Well, and that's really different. But... And I have a lot of, I want to say, issues.
Well, yeah, I have a lot of
concerns. I have a lot of concerns about the EVP stuff, because it is just a recording, and because their voices aren't really audible, I think it's really very unlikely to pick up a lot of things. I haven't had an experience like that before. I'm not going to say that it doesn't exist just because I haven't experienced it. Maybe some people actually have. I've tried recording and just, asking questions and talking out loud and things like that, and I've gotten really nothing back in return. So I'm pretty skeptical about, the EVP stuff, but
do you have an EVP recorder?
I don't. There were apps that you could use, way back when I was trying it, there were certain apps that you could use. I've heard that you could just use regular recording.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
things like
because the
that. You don't have
EVP
to
one is
have
where, like, say you just do a voice record and you
Yeah.
won't hear, like, the theory is that, like, to our naked ears, you wouldn't hear something, but when you play it back, it's gonna show up. And that's different from these apps that you ask a question and there's like a random generated noise through the radio waves or whatever that comes up with a word that's supposed to, and I think some of those are like convenient and
Yeah.
and you can interpret them however you want. And I think to some extent a lot of these ghost hunting type shows, even if the people on them have actually experience something, they kind of need to like have something that they can show on the camera, like what you experience in our castle. If you were just sitting there and you went, I feel this, like, there's nothing to show on camera, and those shows have there's a pressure to show something. So that's I think when these like recording apps and all of these kinds of things come into their own, because it's almost like a way of having something to focus on the camera to sort of prove to the rest of the world, because it would make for a very boring show if it was just someone standing in the room going, well, I kind of feel like there's something over there, because us watching it at home would be like, well, I like prove it. They want to hear a recording or see something or see a shadow or and the chances that those things happen, even if, I mean, I'm a believer. I believe in ghosts, but I also believe that while a camera crew are in a building for 24 hours, the chances that they get all the activity that they claim to get is really slim. So unfortunately, I think there are quite a lot of shows that exaggerate things in order to, otherwise no one would ever watch the show. And that doesn't mean to say that those places aren't haunted. It just means that they felt the need to prove it to the outside world watching. But I've watched other ones where I'm like, oh, holy cow, like that was scary. Like there are certain
Did you just
ones.
censor yourself? You just censored yourself. You chose cow instead of shit. I'm a little bit disappointed in you right now.
I spent the day with my friend and her 6-year-old daughter.
Okay, I could see you. You're like, no, I can't say shit. I'm like, you can say
actually
shit all
say
day
that the whole time we were on the walk. We were like, fuck this and fuck that. So I don't know why I'm suddenly censoring myself now that I'm with you two.
I don't know why you are either. That's why I had to bring it up. Like, what is she doing with her holy cow? What is that?
Holy cow, Batman!
Holy
cow, like Lucy.
Holy baloney.
Oh, well, just so you know, Lucy, if you can get your butt to the States one day,
there is a new Charleston and
there's
Savannah?
A new experience in Savannah, which Sean won't do any of that super fun stuff with me because he sucks. But they offer, I was going to pull it up on my phone. They actually have you can go out with a ghost hunter with like EVP and all the gadgets.
I would love to do that.
I was like, oh, maybe. I know. I would love for you to come over and do that. And in the meantime, maybe Ginger and I might have to run to Savannah. And
no, I'm so jealous. No.
You need to come and get your butt over here.
I need to find someone that'll dog sit me so without me feeling super guilty. Or having a nightmare like I did last time.
Well, yeah. That was
that noise. Start crying.
That was a shit show. that whole situation was a shit show. But that was 0%
Well,
not your fault.
We do have a hotel here that's only like 40 minutes from where I live that is supposed to be like super haunted. I've been in it twice. There's a restaurant.
Let me look if we have any experiences near you. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, there's it's called the Green Park Inn in Blowing Rock. And it's so people who work there are told to, if people ask them what's haunted or what room is haunted, they're told to tell you it's not haunted. They will swear up and down that
that was the podcast that you told me to listen to, right?
Yes.
That was a good one.
I actually had a friend who worked there, and one of my daughter's friends worked there, and both of them were like, no, it's totally haunted. And they used to tell me all kinds of stuff that was happening that was there. We went for a dinner one night because it's, the restaurant that's in it is supposed to be like super swank. So we went for dinner one night, and it was not good. The food was fantastic, but the atmosphere was not friendly at all. The servers were great, the people were great, but you could tell something was definitely off. And my husband refuses to go back. He's like, yeah, I'm not ever stepping foot back in that place again.
That's right. You told me about that.
Yeah. And so a friend of mine that worked there, she's a bartender, and she said it was about closing time. She said people were, not a lot of people were around. And she was, sweeping, getting ready to close up. And she said she looked up and she saw a man sitting at a table in the back corner that had on like a hat. And he had like a cane that was leaned up against the table. And it looked like, she said, he was reading like a newspaper. And so she went to put the broom up and to go back out to take his order, and he wasn't there. Like, he disappeared in front of her eyes.
Oh,
that's spooky.
Yeah. She said that he was there when she came around the corner. She said she still saw him there, but as she got closer, he wasn't there anymore.
Oh my goodness.
And people smell like cigar smoke coming from that corner all the time. But then my daughter's friend who worked there said that she heard the laundry machines going, because it's a hotel. And she heard the laundry machines going late one night, and she's like, they don't usually do laundry at this hour. So she went down to check to see what was like, who was down there, and there was nobody down there, and the laundry machines were not going. Like,
oh, crazy. Yeah.
She said she could hear people talking and the laundry machines going, and she
goodness.
said she would go down there, and she said everything was dark and it was quiet.
Oh, that's
but
freaky.
they will swear to you that it's not haunted. There's supposed to be one particular room. I think it's 264, said something. But there's one particular room that's supposed to be the most haunted room. But yeah, footsteps are heard going up and down the hall. And there's a girl that's supposed to be haunting.
I got the shivers.
That's like that place that we stayed, that fucking mansion house that we stayed in, that we were like, is this place haunted? She was like, no. And I was like, you are full of shit. I can just
Where did you stay?
Oh my God. Just look at the picture of it. It's the scariest thing ever.
From Savannah?
In Scotland?
No, it was in Scotland. I'm going to bring it up. I'll actually share my
screen. Karen came to Scotland.
Oh my God.
Stayed in our scary hotels.
It was it was terrifying. I have to share. I'm going to show you pictures of it. It wasn't that terrifying. It was terrifying.
The one that was the most haunted, that actually when you Google it, it has haunted stories about it, was the one on the last night that we didn't get to because we had to cancel cut our trip short because of rescuing Mizo from the
which I was glad, because I hadn't slept in either of those hotels. I was like just up fucking terrified out of my brain for 2 nights. So I can't, I really want to share my screen. Oh, yes, I can. Woohoo. All right. I'm going to share my screen with you. So that Ginger.
Ooh, that was like a picture within a picture within a picture.
Can you see the pictures?
Oh, yeah. That looks really cool.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous, but it was also terrifying.
I don't remember there being a river next to it.
I don't either. No, I don't remember that either. Look at that though.
That's really pretty.
Was there really a river next to it?
Oh my God!
That's the house I said looked like. That's
the
house I said looked like the Dracula. That's the Dracula house.
Doesn't it look like
Dracula?
That's
the one that I said looked like a Dracula house.
Yeah.
Yes,
it does.
It's terrifying. And the Lucy's bedroom was.
I have to say it was fine, but it was a little bit tired and dated on the inside.
It was.
Yeah,
I want to
Like
find
it could have been doing with being redecorated a little bit. Like,
Yeah, it was
like the rooms didn't look like that. I think they took photos of the nicest rooms.
So my room actually felt very modern compared to, like, your room was terrifying even more than mine was. But you were very busy stressing about your dog. I was just busy stressing about that hotel trying to kill me. How do I stop screaming? But what the heck was I gonna say? Oh, I wanted to read you. This is this experience that you can do. So it's 2 hours. It's a real paranormal investigation walking tour. So this experience begins, this is in Savannah, with a paranormal investigation one-on-one session, which includes descriptions of the paranormal activity to be seen and experienced during the tour, as well as a review of professional equipment used on the tour. Then our guests will visit 3 different haunted locations, and I will share video and audio evidence captured at these real haunted places. Guests will then get to experience their own paranormal investigation at Colonial Park Cemetery, which runs for 30 minutes. See, and this is what I want to see, Ginger. If like we're looking at the machines and your little like natural ghost radars going off.
Well, when I come over, we'll all have to go together.
I know. That's my dream. And then it says, lastly, we save all the footage and evidence gathered, upload it to the server, and share it with the guests so they can review and enjoy their experience later with friends and family, which is a marketing genius, by the way, of this company.
Hang on a second. Hang on.
Yeah, and my earbuds just died. So can you hear me okay?
Yeah. I think as long as 2 out of the 3 of us have headphones, I think we're okay.
Yeah.
So they provide the equipment, full spectrum UHD 4K video cameras, UHD audio, Spirit Box direct connect devices, SLS cameras, all these Mel meter, EMF detectors, super hearing, active listening devices, everything's included on the tour. So don't you? I feel like we need to go do that.
Yeah, I feel like we need to go.
Don't you think so?
Yes.
And I don't think they would shush me for being excited about ghosts. I feel like they would not.
Yeah, I actually would like to see like what their setup is, and I don't know. I feel like I'm so skeptical of people sometimes when you have to have all the gadgets and all the things.
I know. Well, that's why I want to hear your like honest opinion.
Yeah.
About it.
Well, because I'm not an expert like you guys like to tell me, because I haven't had all the experiences. I know of my experiences, and I know of like people who I trust their experiences, but I haven't had all the experiences. So I think it would be really interesting.
I think it would be interesting too. And I'm not looking to like have you like just be there to doubt all their equipment. I think I would be more interested in to see if like you would actually be corroborating what was going on, you know, be like, oh, you're seeing a light. Oh, I feel something too. Like that's more what I'm interested in, or not, or whatever. I'm just fascinated by all of it.
Yeah, I would totally be interested in seeing what kind of things they have, because I haven't had the experience with equipment before and with all the
neither have I, and I would love to. In fact, I'd be like, we even started looking at how to buy some of these things for when we go in our castles. Like, wouldn't it be cool to have something like that in the castle?
I don't know. It might freak me out even more.
We don't have to sleep in it, Karen, so it's okay.
That's true. All right, then. Find all the ghosts.
We can freak all the ladies out and then come home to my house.
And then leave. That's true. I'm okay with that. I'm in.
All the fun stuff happens at night.
Oh, God.
Which is really interesting. Although, I don't know if you guys noticed, a minute ago, I had to get up and open the door because I thought I heard like somebody on the other side, like trying to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, maybe it's the cat, because sometimes
was it like Lee?
There's nobody there.
Was it Lee?
Hi, Lee.
It could have been. He's around all the time. So,
hi, Lee. Did you tell him we said hi? Does he know we love him?
He does.
I'm sure good.
I'm sure he does.
Like Lee, the friendly ghost.
Lee, the friendly ghost.
He's our ghost mascot.
Casper.
We need to have t-shirts. Long live Lee. Oh, is Dad driving you? Yeah. Okay. I love you. Are you packing a dinner? Yep. Okay. I'll talk to you later. I'll pick you up. 8:30. Okay.
But no, I totally love to go and just kind of experience things. One of the best experiences that I had on ghost tours was when we went to, we were in Hawaii, and we went on a ghost tour in Hawaii, and it was one of the best ghost tours I've ever been on. The ones that I went on in Savannah was not very like exciting at all. They just basically told you stories.
Yeah.
But
ours in Savannah was so good because the electricity in half the entire city went out in the bar during our ghost tour, which was like, I'm sorry, but that was very powerful.
No, that'd be totally fun.
It was very fun. And we're also like, is it a sign? It must be a sign.
They had you sucked in, didn't they?
I know. Oh my God. I was fully sucked in. Yes. Well, we're on Abe on Lincoln bar. So I was literally drawing Abraham Lincoln on a napkin because the whole bar, every single square inch is covered with napkins with people's drawings of Abraham Lincoln. So they're like, Karen, you're the artist. You're the only one who could do it. Like, go. So like, pause on our ghost. See, he was a good ghost tour leader because he was like, oh, you want to spend 20 minutes in here and draw on the napkin? Like, take your time, whatever. We'll leave when you're done, right? Not like
that was kind of what was happening in Hawaii too. Like,
yeah,
the guy would tell us the story, and he would tell us like what had happened and what other people had experienced in an area. And he's like, okay, so you guys can explore the area for a little while,
right?
You know, and everybody would just kind of scatter, and that's where I got all the really cool photos.
Orbs. Yeah,
you don't want something that's too scripted and too like regimented, do you?
Yes.
No.
Agreed.
You see my dog going mental in the background?
Yes.
Look at his new toy. He's got a unicorn.
Oh my God, that's really
cute. His favorite. It's his new favorite toy.
Well, unicorns. That's what we're doing in January in Celtic
a unicorn
Collective,
with a little rainbow. It's got a little rainbow mane and a little rainbow tail, and it's Weasel's new toy.
Oh,
he's getting the zoomies, so I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, Maggie's coming in literally right now as we're talking because that's her DINNE to our time.
Yeah, he's a little bit the same. He's like, because where's my?
Oh, that was perfect. We're at 57 minutes, so our 10 minutes, we did it. I knew we could do it.
I'll edit it down to 10 minutes. I'll take all the shit out of it.
Oh, the shit's the fun part. You edit in shit over your cow though, because that was lame. Oh,
yeah, I could do a little voiceover for that, like
someone else's voice.
Put music in little places.
Yeah, like a man. I know we should do more with music. That would be fun. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. So lovely to see you again.
Always. Anytime. Just let me know.
It's the best. Well, let's hang up our podcast and then we'll wrap up on here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
We can. Okay. All right. So thank you, Ginger. We already covered that. Thank you. Hooray. We'll see you soon. Bye. All right. So that's Audacity. And then I can end broadcast here.